Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, no matter where you're calling from. It's great. It's great to see you. We've got lots of new names today, which is amazing. Of course, we've got the very friendly and familiar names that are here regularly. So, hello if you are here very often, and if you are new, welcome. Puts me under a lot of pressure seeing a big percentage of new people. Gotta deliver on those feature update goods. So if this is your first session, my name's Mike. I'm one of the co-founders here at Waybook, and this is a great session. I love doing this every month, where we get to speak to you about what's coming up in the Waybook accounts, what is new in the Waybook accounts, and what basically how to maximize, how to get the most of it. Now, the seasoned veterans, the regulars amongst you, will know that often we'll tell you maybe kind of the top 5 or 6 things that come out. And very rarely do we focus on one thing. And today, ladies and gentlemen, is one of those one things where we're going to focus on one key feature that actually has just launched, as in it's in your account, but it probably is fresh. It's fresh for about an hour, I would say. So some of you might have seen it. I know many of the regulars here often beat me to finding these features. Um, but if to kind of get us underway, we do have the fantastic Elle and the brilliant Luke here from the Waybook team. So feel free to say hello in the chat, and also feel free to say who you are and where you're calling from as well. We always have a fantastically great selection of locations here. I'm back in London now, so I am back in the UK winter, but I still have that Cape Town energy. And of course, this lovely poster behind me reminded me that the sun does exist. Hello, Emily. Good to see you back. Iowa, of course. We've got Kawana from Florida, Jade from Costa Rica. Oh, love it. Shannon in New Orleans, Jalen in Montana. Oh, if anybody has seen Yellowstone, then you'll also want to be going to Montana like me. Pablo from Lake Mary in Florida. We've got Mexico, Illinois, Northamptonshire. Chris, I'm sorry, Northamptonshire doesn't sound as exciting to me as Montana, but it's good. And also Brighton. Okay, we've got a great set, a great set. Right, I'm going to stop reading out everybody's location, but it does excite me. Let's dive into what we're going to go through today because, as I said, we're focusing on one thing. The thing we're focusing on is reports, reports, and reports. Today, we have just done a big update to the reports. This is both a visual update and also a kind of data update. It also unlocks a lot more than what you do. And the reason why we want to focus on this is because reports is one of those things that actually you can see, yep, that information is good, but we want to just peer a little bit behind the curtain and look at what should we be doing with that information? How can we actually make that better for us to develop our Waybook and also make it easier to disseminate that information across our teams? So the reason why we wanted to focus on this, and this has been a key thing we've focused on for the last couple of months now, is because actually we know that when you're at the early stages of building your Waybook, it's really important for you as the Waybook owner or part of the Waybook team to have really strong insights into the creating process. So where are the state of documents? How many documents are being created? How many documents need to be updated or in review, things like that, and actually manage that process. But then even once you've created your Waybook, it's really important for us to actually be able to understand and monitor that. So we're making sure that we're having this knowledge-centric culture where we're able to iteratively build on the systems within the business. The second reason why we wanted to focus on this is, yes, we might use all the insights and build a fantastic Waybook, but ultimately we want to make sure that people are seeing the information, completing their onboarding, their training, using the single source of truth, and actually understanding the information within the Waybook. We talk about documents and knowledge within Waybook and everything like that, but ultimately, are people getting the information they need to do their best jobs, and are we being consistent as a business? So insights for the knowledge management. And then, of course, we have a lot of specific reporting requirements. So this won't be for everyone, or it will be a mix for different people. Sometimes we want to look on perhaps an individual's performance, which is linked to perhaps their performance and their remuneration. We might want to look at specifically and deeply into a piece of content to make sure that actually it's providing the right insights necessary across the business. We might also want to pull reports for compliance. So if you need to show to any external bodies that everybody's up to date or whatever that may be. So what we've done is we have introduced a new visual dashboard for your reports. So this actually is a new home where, without diving into all of the reports all of the time, you can get a really good sense of what's happening, what's the health of the knowledge across the business, and the small actions you can take to improve that. Then we have also massively enhanced the breakdown for all reports. All reports. So you can now go deeper and further and see much more information within your Waybook. We have enabled the ability for you to report more holistically on all content. Now, before you could see everything on all content, but you might want to say, okay, I want to look at everything across this category or this subject. We're going to show you that. Also, by the way, I am going to show you this. I'm not just reading off this slide. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. And the ability to add and filter much more content within the columns. And we've also got enhanced filtering from a reports perspective. And of course, you expert themes, you will be able to export to not just CSV, but also Excel and PDF. So you can manipulate and do that data as much as you like. So how you access it, it is available. It is available in all accounts. It's been rolled out to everyone. Of course, you do need to be either an admin or a manager in order to see reports, because that is who can see the knowledge. Right, without further ado, let me jump into the new look reports. If you've got any thoughts or questions, do put them in the chat. I'm keeping the chat up. I will keep my beady eyes amongst it so we can make sure that we're integrating as much of what you want into this session as well. Okay, let me just pull this up. So, ladies and gentlemen, what you see here is the new beautiful reports. So this is going to be your reports dash. This is what you will see in all of your dashboards if you go into it right now. And I'm just going to take us through section by section. Specifically, I'm going to be telling you why we're looking at this and how you can implement this in the business as well. So on the left-hand side here, these sections are very much more for you as the knowledge owner, as the kind of Waybook owner, to make sure that the health of your Waybook is moving forward and productive. So on your document status, what you'll be able to see is how many of your documents are published and how many are draft. So this is really useful because actually you want to always make sure that you've got more documents on the published side. Of course, at the beginning, you'll have lots of draft documents. If you think your Waybook is really operational, but you've got 50% draft documents, you might want to go in and just delete some of them or archive them or publish them. We don't really recommend having multiple versions of the same document. So don't have draft documents for old ones and new documents that was published. Of course, the version control and version history means that you can have one document for that particular SOP, that policy, that procedure. We're also then able to see what are the total document views. So what are the total views across our documents? And this actually is just a great insight for you to be able to see, okay, well, how many times has an interaction with Waybook saved up someone time or resource within the business? And then also we've looked at total step views as well. So this is on the individual steps. Now, going one down, this document updates is a weekly view of how many and how regularly your updates are happening. So this weekly view will show you the breakdown of both the number of updated, so, existing documents that have been updated, or newly published documents that have happened. Now, what we typically like to see here for new businesses is you'll have big amounts of publish, and then slowly it will go down to less published and more updated. But the key thing to make sure that you're nudging your knowledge forward is we recommend that you should be at least updating a couple of documents each week. And that really is however you do this as an internal cadence. But even if that's changing how you represent or improving how you kind of share the information with your team. Now, of course, we make all of these changes, and then Waybook will keep people up to date. So you can also actually see and manage everything to do with your email notifications. So we'll see how many email notifications have been sent within this period, and crucially, we can make sure that they're being delivered. So not only can you see on the bottom here if your email notifications have been delivered, you'll see whether or not they have been read. So if you do a big publish, then you might see that we've sent more emails here, and then more people will read them over the next couple of days. The weekly spikes, believe it or not, will be your weekly summary emails, which you can manage within your settings, but will keep people updated on what they need to do next. Now, that first one is very much on the management side, and we will dive deeper into those. But the second part here is now into the team performance. The team performance is very much what are people doing? Where is the knowledge? How are they interacting with our Waybook? Now, the most active members, these are the 3 people that have been most active on your Waybook within the last 30 days. So this could change. And it's actually quite a nice thing to just make sure that you have the power users, the people using this on a regular basis. And then, as you know, we have badges within here. Who has actually been awarded the most? Now, this isn't necessarily going to be the same because the badges are available for both editors and also for readers. And this is the same. You see the people who've had the most badges over that 30-day period. Now, if we click into any of these profiles, what it will do, it will actually take you to that user's individual profile, and you can see what badges they do have and also what badges they're working towards as well. Now, the badges is just a really great way to make sure that people are utilizing your knowledge in a very healthy way. Now, these 2 metrics are really important. It is your engagement. So what percentage of your team have engaged with your Waybook over the last 30 days, so in the last month? Now, really, a healthy team should be seeing between 70 and 80%, or so 100% is the best. But this really means that you have people coming back, asking Waybook questions, updating themselves on the knowledge. What we see is the more that you keep this fresh and update, the more you have people engaging with your content regularly. And what you ultimately need to have is in the mind of all of your team that Waybook has the answer. Waybook is where, the playbook for the business is. And that's where people start to then ask questions more to Waybook or search Waybook before coming to ask you or making up a new way of doing things. So the engagement is really the main metric that we encourage you to improve, increase. If you think that this on you is low, like this is obviously a demo account, 12% wouldn't be great, and you don't have any ideas on supporting that, let us know. Get in touch with the account managers, and we will absolutely look into your account and see how we can improve that. And one major thing with this, by the way, is having more published documents, and crucially having more documents that are assigned, so not reference documents, because Waybook doesn't encourage them to stay up to date on those. So having them actually assigned, which for the avoidance of doubt, is when you give somebody access, you want to make sure that require completion is on. So they're the ones that are contributing to their 100%. They're the ones that are reminding people to come back. And then the second thing here is the completion. The completion is of every document that requires completion of all of your team, what's the average completion? So this, ideally, we want it to be at 100%. That means that everyone knows everything they possibly should and could know and is up to date. But as you're updating things, this will kind of hover around depending on how active your account is. Now, that is the kind of completion and people going through it. But of course, we also have the kind of search and ask insights. Now, we will dive deeper into these in just a moment. But what you'll see here is actually how many searches are happening over that kind of monthly period. How does that change? Are we getting more answers at the beginning or the end or season's end or whatever that may be? So we can actually see the number of searches and when they are on the day, and also how many people are going to jump into search and ask as well. That was a rare example where I fail with reading and speaking at the same time, ladies and gentlemen. So Lisa, I see your question. You've managed to stop me talking whilst I'm reading there. Congratulations to you. I'll come back to your question in a moment. So yeah, this is basically your search and your asks. And crucially, this number here is your responsibility. The answer rate, it is your responsibility. So if we have people asking questions that they do not have an answer, they do not have a relevant document, that will bring our answer rate down. Our goal, ladies and gentlemen, is to make sure that Waybook answers at least 80% of the questions, because that ultimately means that more people will ask more questions, but then you use those questions people are asking to bridge that knowledge gap, create the new procedures, add the new information, connect the dots more internally. And then, of course, we can see the learning path. So out of all of the people who are on a learning path, whether that be onboarding or training or health and safety, whatever that may be, how many of them have not started? How many of them are mid-progress? And how many of those have been completed? And then the final one, because I know Matt is also asking the question, can you see the questions that are being asked? Yes, you can, which is also a nice way of being like, hurry up, Mike, get beyond this one screen, because I'll show you some of the good stuff. The last thing here is also your admin view. So your admin view of the audit log. This is basically all of the activity which is done on your Waybook as you move through. And your save report. So this is your new home when you're in this reporting mode. Let's fire into each one of these individually. I will do some of them slightly faster so we get a chance to see all of them, but I will be directed by your questions to go a bit further in. So if we head back into this kind of creation mode, if we jump into the creator insights, what we will be able to see is every editor within Waybook, so every creator, how are they performing? What are they doing? So we can basically see here, how many docs does somebody own? We see here that I own the majority of the documents. You can have multiple owners on a document, so the number of documents owned may be more than your number of documents. But then you can also see, well, how many of those are published? So if we all start with no published documents, we all want to be kind of creating and publishing documents at a similar rate. We can see in this one, L is a little bit behind as a percentage there, but actually that is only 4 documents that she needs to publish to get to 100%. You can also see a recent activity. So what are the number of documents that have recently changed by that owner or by that editor? Sorry, this is editors, not owners. So anyone who can edit that document. So actually, this document has changed. So there's a good healthy percentage of my ones that have changed within there. How many docs are in review? How many docs are in approval? So this gives us a really strong insight into how that kind of content creator is performing. Now, with the email insight, we'll just touch into this. You can see where you're at. You want to be at a high percentage here. But if you ever have a problem, you can actually look at your email log. It's very easy. You can look at specific error messages and just make sure that your emails and everything are correctly put into your Waybook. So let's now go into the search insights before we go into member breakdown, which is the main element here. So if we go into the search insights, to your question, Matt, very, very timely. Can you see the questions that are being asked? Yes, you absolutely can. You can see all the questions that are being asked. This is your search data. So if a search is performed, you can see how many times that search is happening, how many results have been surfaced for that. And then we also have your ask data. So this is an individual. So this individual ask, you'll see that this will be repeated. Someone's asked this question twice, when it happened, and also how many messages have been had. So how many back and forth, how many follow-ups have been had. Now here you can manage this by rating. If you have good ratings and typically no ratings, that's a good sign. But if somebody starts to say, doesn't answer my question and they're prompted to, you can then look at the poor questions and that will then highlight the knowledge gaps. The other way you can do it from the search data is if you hover over into no results, and actually you can look at this over the last 28 days, whatever that may be, these are your knowledge gaps. So if we look at that, it basically says, how do we onboard a new landlord? We can do that search by clicking on it. So we're actually able to see the information that's in there. And then we can decide, okay, we want to, we want to add that new piece of information, that new piece of update. So this is really, I find this personally one of the most valuable parts of Waybook on an ongoing basis. because the more people that ask in Waybook, the more questions that are surfaced, the easier you can actually then complete and fill those knowledge gaps. Now, of course, I've clicked on that from the search, the reports dashboard. You can do that from the search insights on the left-hand side here as well. So now let's go much deeper into it. We do still have the progress matrix. The progress matrix I absolutely love as a view, because ultimately that means that we can look at either everybody across the business and look at all of the content. You'll see here's your categories, your subjects, and your individual documents, and you can see where they are. So you can say, okay, well, look, there's a gap of understanding here. It's a bit grey. Now, this is everyone in your Waybook. You can also break that down by groups. So we can look at the customer service group and we can say, okay, well, look, we've got a good cluster of knowledge here, but actually there's a big bank here within the HR documents that people haven't done. So that's super useful. Now, let's go into the main the main kind of change here. If we go into the members breakdown, you'll see that the new report breakdown has entirely changed. So this is now the supercharged, super powerful. So firstly, you can always start by deciding what you want to report on. So I want to report on all of our categories, all of our subjects, all of our documents, all of our steps, all of our test steps. If we look at all of our subjects, what this will do is it will actually just show you all of the subjects that exist within the Waybook. And actually it will show you the most important factors about it. So how many documents in it, how many members require completion. And this is really important to look at because sometimes you feel like people aren't actually completing that document. Well, maybe you haven't got member completion on, like the HR subject here only has one person requiring completion. Now, you can enhance these reports by adding additional pieces into that. So the number of members, the documents requiring completion, things like that. Now, we can then go one layer deeper and we can either look at all of the documents. So this will open up all of the documents in the subjects and the categories. And you can also change this view. So say I don't need to look at the category and the subject. You can basically then start to add in here. So I actually want to look at the ones that have the total views, perhaps when they're last viewed. And also I want to have a quick look at the number of members that have completed. So if I add these in, I can drag and drop and kind of move these around. But let's say we want to sort all of our documents by the amount of views. So if we go here, we've got this billing and account document, and this document's been viewed 16,000 times. So it's like, okay, that's good. That is very, very heavy use for that. You can also look the other way and say, well, look, what knowledge do we have in here that just nobody has ever seen? And actually, that's really useful to make sure that there's not critical information in there that people need to see. Now, if that is the case, you can kind of jump on that. You can go to that document and you can say, okay, well, look, this follow-up procedure is kind of important. So what I need to do, let me just sense check on the access. Okay, cool. Well, look, the account managers are required to complete that. You can kind of amend that access, do whatever you need to within there. So it kind of gives you a bit of a thread to pull on in order to go through. So that's when we're looking at kind of all documents, deciding what to filter it by, deciding, what information we want to look at. Now, what you can also do is we can then go one layer deeper. So I might want to look at this particular document, but I want to break down by all of the steps. So I'm going to look at the document and I'm going to look at the individual steps of that document and see where people are and what they haven't completed. And this are these second set of reports. So instead of viewing all categories, all subjects, all documents, all steps, all tests, we're looking at an individual category or an individual subject or an individual document. So if I look at this individual document, let me just go to this purpose and background one. I can see what are the steps of that document and how many people on average have completed it. So you can really, really now get an absolutely granular view on that. Now, the other thing you might want to do is you might want to look at that individual step and say, well, actually, who are the members that have done that knowledge confirmation? So we will then look at that specific step, broken it down by members, and we can say, okay, this knowledge confirmation, which is people saying, I confirm, I accept, I agree, has been completed by all of these people. but actually it's not been viewed by these. So actually in that scenario, we might then want to kind of nudge that and kind of regenerate that for people. So I'll go back to this full document view and break down this full document by members. We can then also add in these additional elements as well. So we can see, well, when were they joined or what role are they and things like that. So we can kind of go in from there. Now, once we've got these really good views, we can have enhancements on those views. So in any of these advanced settings, we can decide whether we want to show our archived content. So if you archive or hide, archive a document, we can show that or not. And of course, we can choose whether to show our archived members. Now, within Waybook, we encourage you not to delete members because you want that long-term history. You can just simply archive a member, and that archive member can then still show up in your reports. And then you can also do additional filters. So on any of these views, you can look at a particular member or look at a particular group of members. So if you're only managing the customer service group, you update that report and you can just look at the members within the customer service group that have viewed that particular document. So you can see how you can very easily run down into the very specific documents that you need to look at. And hopefully you can get a sense of how you can start from the nice dashboard at the top based on what are you trying to do, create content, manage knowledge internally, or actually optimize the use of your Waybook. And once you've kind of gone down the hill here, you can then either export that. So if we export that to either a PDF or a CSV or an Excel file if you wanted to have an offline version, or you can save that report. So we can say CS onboarding 1, and that saved reports will just sit in both your, believe it or not, saved reports and also on your dashboard, so you can get quick access back into it, so you can jump back into where you left off. So I'm going to pause for just a moment because I know I've covered a lot of ground there. And if anyone has any thoughts or questions, now is the time in order to put that into the chat. And whilst we're doing that, the other thing that I'd just like to kind of bring up from a reports perspective, one thing we see a lot of people wanting to do is actually looking at your test or your confirmations. So if we look at a report on all of the tests or all of the confirmations, you can then actually see all of the tests that you have within your Waybook. So say, for example, there's a GDPR test that you have within your Waybook. You can break that down by members or even by your groups. So you can see what group has and hasn't completed their GDPR, their overview or their test within that. And again, of course, you can save and put that in as well. Now, the final thing, which I didn't click on before, was your audit log. Your audit log is the only thing here which is in your Pro. Now, this basically gives you a full audit log of all of the activities that all of your members have taken on the management perspective. So if you ever need to see, has somebody kind of made changes or edited or created documents or who did this, you always have all of that visible within your audit log. So, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of your whistle-stop tour of reports. If you are looking at reports and getting a little bit more, it really is a great way of you being able to jump into Waybook. If you have a question on your reporting within Waybook that you're not answering with your current reports, please do let us know, because either we can show you how to get that information, or it may be a report that we've not built yet, which is excellent because we love building new things when people really need it. So let us know and we'll jump into that as well. The one final thing I don't know if I covered before, but the key big change which has happened within here is in the advanced settings, you can now view all of your reports by groups. So before you could only see your progress matrix by group, whereas now you can see everything by group. So if I only want to look at every report by group, I'm only seeing the customer service group. And of course, if you are doing the members, you can do multiple members. So I might want to do the customer service group and the kind of marketing department, as well as these 4 people. And that's the lens that I want to apply on the reports that I'm currently looking at. So there you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming slowly to an end. If anyone does have any other thoughts or questions, please do let me know. Looking back up, I know Elle has answered the question that you had, Lisa, but for the sake of everyone, Lisa was asking, can you get an average amount of time spent covering the pages for the required documents? Now, we actually do track that data in the background, as Elle said, but it's not currently surfaced in reports. We are looking at that, and actually we've heard a mix of feedback, whether people actually want this or not. So please do let us know if you think that is an interesting and useful thing to have. That's the other thing. And then the other key question you had, I think, is also answered there as well. So heading back to this, the last thing that I wanted to share with you is what's coming up, what is next. Now, I'm very excited to share that a new dashboard is coming to your screens very, very soon. Now, the value of the new dashboard is basically making Waybook much more easy to interface from an initial view. I won't sneak peek it to you just now, but it is looking absolutely beautiful. It has a lot more customization, and crucially, for anyone who's been looking at custom dashboards before, you will now be able to customize your dashboard and share that across all of your team as well. And the final thing that is, or one of the other big things that's currently in production as well, is a flowchart builder. So we see this as completing the last piece of sharing all of your information in the most effective ways. So if you're looking to create more processes and procedures that have a visual element, a process mapping chart, or if you are embedding from Visio or Lucid Charts or something like that, you'll be able to natively build all of them within Waybook and connect that to the relevant information across the screens as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today. There's a lot more going on, and we really appreciate all of your time and energy joining these calls, chatting with the team, and helping us continue to build Waybook so we can all be on the same page, build our business on the same page, and of course, enjoy some smooth scaling. So, until next time, I hope you have an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks a lot, and take care. Bye-bye.